Hi, Cinematic Enthuse here. Just wanting to talk to you a little bit today about a little more about bringing up baby, and also maybe a little bit about the Marx Brothers, and also a little bit about my grandfather. Um, this channel and this forum is just a place for me to talk about movies and music I like, and maybe give you some recommendations if you like. Screwball comedy is something that I have gotten into in the last, I'd say, 5 years, but I've been watching classic films since I was about 9 years old, and maybe I'll talk about that sometime. Um, but the specific genre, screwball comedy, is something I've really gotten into more recently, and I thought I'd just mention that I went ahead and watched a little bit of, rewatched for many, I've seen it many times, um, some of Bringing Up Baby earlier today when I was in between doing some work. And it was really one of the things I love about, especially about this piece, is it really sets up like the pace of um, rhythm. And so, like, you see, like, what I noticed when I was watching it is the first 20 minutes. Once you get past the first scene, there's the first scene, the opening scene, which is, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, go ahead and see it. Um, but the opening scene is kind of the setup shot with Cary Grant as David Huxley as the paleontologist. And so you kind of get to know what his deal is. And then right after that, that's like maybe like a couple minutes. Right after that is just like, it just takes off for like 20 minutes nonstop. Because once Cary Grant, David Huxley meets Katharine Hepburn, um, Susan, um, it's just nonstop for like at least 15, 20 minutes. And so that's a great example of screwball comedy where the first thing I think of when I think of that term is really fast paced, witty dialogue. And usually that means that the writing is going to be really, really good, really clever, really probably some double entendres in there, especially during that time frame, that the time period of the Hays Code. Uh, if you're not familiar with the Hays Code, you can look it up. Hays Code. It's named after Hayes. He was like he had some governmental post, I think, and because the government was heavily involved with Hollywood, I guess always has been. So anyway, long story short, there's like a good 20 minutes there of like where they're getting to know each other, but they're kind of being slammed together, and she doesn't really let go of him for the first 20, well, throughout the whole movie really, but especially the first 20 minutes. And you just see him trying to pull away from her, and she just keeps pulling him back, and it's just this back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And there's just some wonderful moments, and in the middle of that he's trying to negotiate with this financier, or a broker of a financier. So he's got his eyes on getting some money for his museum, and this isn't a giveaway because it's a pretty famous line, but it's like him multitasking throughout the whole first 20 minutes where he's being completely bombarded by Katharine Hepburn, and every few minutes he'll see the uh, the financier and say, "I'll see you in a minute. I'll see you in a minute." I'll be with you in a minute. I'll be with you. So you know that no matter what he's doing, um, he's got one eye on this financier, and the other eye's on her. Uh, you know, it's really fun to watch, and that in itself, like, what makes a really great screwball comedy, or any comedy, in my opinion, either a musical comedy, a talking comedy, I think has to have a really good opening. Um, if it's going to be really, really, really good. I mean, there's still plenty of comedies you can watch that don't have a big opening, and they're still great. But this kind is just really works really well with like a good opening. And so that whole first 20 minutes is just a nonstop ride. And of course, then they regroup for a little bit, and then they take off again. So it's like with Hawks, Howard Hawks, the director, there's always this non-stop pace. And of course, those of you who've seen His Girl Friday will know he jacks up the pace even more, on that. So that in itself is fun because when you get people like Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn at this point in her career, who, while she wasn't like skilled at improv, I think she was talented enough and well varied enough to be able to handle improv. But he was pretty much a very, he was really equipped to do improv as well as straight acting. I mean, that's what made him kind of special in my opinion, besides his looks, of course, and his wonderful voice. But I think, and his, also his physical, not just his physical body, but his way of moving. He had a really good way of moving because he had training in acrobatics, because he came from a circus. Well, it was like a circus troupe. Bob Pender's, it was a vaudeville troupe. So he had been trained in all these, very similar background to like somebody like Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan, who grew up years later in the Chinese opera, which is like, it's not really what we think of as opera. I mean, there is singing in it, but there's a lot of acrobatic and gymnastic, and of course kung fu and all that stuff, but which was huge, of course. But I mean, there's just a lot of physicality to the nth degree. Really, really, like somebody who's either a really good dancer, really good gymnast, really flexible, and also understands how to use their face. And so when you can kind of package all that together into one person, I think that's why Cary Grant during that time period is just so electrifying. I just love that time period for him. And of course, the stuff that he does after that is awesome. Okay, it's just different. It's just a different kind of character. It's a different kind of role for him. So anyway, so Baby is just, yeah, I won't go into too much more of it, maybe on another video, but you should watch it if you, with that in mind. And of course, there's so many neat little things with, don't forget, Walter Catlett is at the very end, well, he's sort of in the middle to the end. There's a wonderful, wonderful scene at the end when they're in jail. Spoiler alert, sorry. And he taught them the vaudeville, that's like kind of like a vaudeville routine. He says, prick your ears up like a rabbit. And they start talking to each other and trying to get out of jail and all that type of stuff. And it's just pandemonium. And I love that part. That part's so much fun. There's a lot of fun parts. Barry Fitzgerald playing Aloysius Gogarty, the Irish, I think he's like one of the workers for Mrs. Carlton Random. And that scene where he has, well, I won't give that one away. You just look for it. That's a fun one. And of course, Charlie Ruggles. These are some of the supporting cast members I was talking about in the earlier video. You have Charlie Ruggles, Barry Fitzgerald. I can't remember her name, but she was a very well-established actress. These were all stock players who they practically jump off the screen. They're so amazing, If those actors weren't in those roles, I don't think the movie would have been as good. I honestly don't think so. And there's probably a few more people I'm missing, but definitely see that. And then also, I wanted to talk about, just a quick mention that this weekend I celebrated my grandfather's birthday, since he was a huge he's a huge influence on me in a lot of areas of my life, but in terms of movies and entertainment, um, he used to like the Marx Brothers a little bit. So I decided to watch the, I watched two of them, and one of them I had seen before, and the other one I don't think I had. I had seen Horse Feathers once, so this was my second time seeing Horse Feathers, and that was really awesome. And then Animal Crackers, I don't think I had seen before, and that one, that was pretty good. It was pretty good. It was a little slow in parts, um, but it was really good. The thing I love about both of those, and I'll leave links for those too because they're actually available, um, is they're both Paramount movies. And from what I understand from the Marx Brothers, you have the Paramount films and the MGM films. And the Paramount films came first. So they're from like the early 30s till like, I don't know, 35 or something like that, 34 or something like that. 1929 to maybe 1934. So you have the Coconuts, and which is the first one, and then you have, I think, Animal Crackers and Monkey Business, Horse Feathers, and there might be one more I'm missing. But and I might watch Monkey Business too. But what I love about both Horse Feathers and Animal Crackers is there's a couple times in them where Groucho breaks the fourth wall. And if you don't know what that means, that's basically because stage is like three walls, left, back, and right. The fourth wall is the audience. And so that's like when somebody pans towards the camera and talks to the audience as if, they're not in the show. Um, and that I always think that's hilarious. So he does that a couple times in both movies. He does at least once in each movie, in Horse Feathers and um, Animal Crackers. And Horse Feathers in particular, even though it's a football movie, I could care less about football, but it's an academic movie. And if you want a very subversive, anti-authoritarian, defiant, rebellious opening number, Horse Feathers, the opening number when he is singing I'm Against It, anything you say, I'm against it, is awesome. Awesomely hilarious. Totally recommend that. I was having such a good time during that opening number of Horse Feathers. So definitely watch that. Really good to get you kind of like thinking about the kind of restrictions of society and going up against them in kind of a fun, defiant way and saying, we don't have to do things like this, and that's part of what I like about the Marx Brothers is that I think the reason for me why they're so funny, and to be honest, I didn't even watch their movies until like, pretty sure I saw maybe Duck Soup when I was in my 20s, but I didn't really go through all the Marx Brothers movies till really recently, like the last 5 years. So, I mean, they're so timeless because they're so much like Bring Up Baby. Sure, there might be a joke here and there that like doesn't play well because it's either too dated or if it's mildly offensive or whatever. But so much of it where he, especially Marx Brothers, where they basically punch up against authoritarianism or authority. It's still effective, and I think it always will be, really. So check those out, and I will sign off for now. But until next time, all right.